In this video, we'll create an AI news site using an ASP backend and a Vite front-end. We'll be using the Ada coding agent in Visual Studio Code. Ada is an awesome agent. I cover the installation and setup in a separate video. Works best with GPT-4o and Claude 3.5 for now. 3.5 is just better there. You can edit multiple files, so it commits code for you as it works. So here's our prompt. We want the backend to be an ASP.NET 8 REST API. Should get the latest news. Use clean architecture. Use web scraping, so we don't want API keys. And must write integration tests to test the code. Let's start Ada with Claude 3.5 Sonnet and the architecture feature, which allows one main model to plan the task and then another model to fulfill it. No Git repo found, it'll create one for us. So as you can see, our folder is empty, only the Git repo and the Ada chat history. Let's check the tokens that is going to send to the LLM, currently 105, because there's nothing really to send, only the repo map. Okay, let's paste in our prompt. As you can see, it has already started planning. It has the folder structure that it wants to go for. Then it's going to populate it with the separate projects. It already created the news class. Okay, let's just allow it to proceed. By the way, there's a configuration that we can set to always accept the recommendations. Let's create the necessary files. As you can see, it creates the files as it goes along. Now it wants to add the news service to the chat. Adding it to chat allows it to edit that file, so it limits the number of tokens that we use at a time, saving you money. We can choose to not ask again if it's a lot of files, for example. So there we see the source of the news is artificial intelligence news.com. He just chose it randomly, and later we're going to add a second source of news. So now it's using 3000 tokens because it added some code. Let's ask it how to actually run the solution. Ada itself is able to run commands using the /run command. Let's do it with .NET build. As you can see, there's an error. The output is added to the chat and then it can fix the bug. Okay, it sees that it forgot to create a solution file. Let's just allow it to create the solution file and retry. The solution file doesn't look right. Let's just retry the building. Okay, it's unable to find any project to restore. Let's give it that output so it can continue. Yeah, it actually sees that it forgot to add projects to the solution file. They'll probably just attempt that. So you can see there the .NET SLN add. Let's just check our token usage. It's getting high. What you need to do is clear the chat history and then continue. /year, then /tokens to see how many were cleared. Great stuff. Now we're using less tokens, subsequently using less money. As you can see that there's no chat tokens there. Okay, let's create a PowerShell script to actually build and run our API. Just proceed to create the file. Let's just run the new script. It's building the solution. It's done building, starting the API. Oh, it ran into an error here. Let's see. Oh, it couldn't bind to port 5000 because I already have it in use. Let me just stop the other application. So let's run the script again. As you can see, now it's running. Let's ask it which URL to use to view the news articles. There's the endpoint. As you can see, it returns nothing. Let's just tell it that it's not returning anything. And I visit the endpoint, I get no news. That's what I get. No, there's no need for it to browse the endpoint. Let's see how the site actually looks. Okay, it does provide news. If we refresh, still no news. Okay, let's add the logs that it actually created to the chat. Okay, let's see if you can try to scrape the website. Okay, it couldn't, it timed out. Oh, finally, it was able to scrape the site. So it might know more about how to actually add the scraping to our API. Okay, it looks like the date passing was the actual issue here. Okay, I see. Okay, it made some updates. Let's just clear the chat. Let's just make sure that our API has hot reload, so we don't have to stop and start the API every time there's a change. So it's scraping our endpoint. Oh, nice. It says it got the correct data back. Let's just check it ourselves. Oh, there we go. We're getting the data, but the published date looks wrong. Oh, it also added some caching mechanism because we added integration tests. That's nice. So we don't spam the news websites. Let's just try a .NET build again. There's an error. Let's get it to try to fix it. Always check your tokens so you don't use a lot of tokens. It seems like it actually fixed the error. Let's just check these dates. October. Oh, that's definitely incorrect. Let's ask it to fix it. Let's run our integration tests. Okay, it found an issue. So let's just let it try to fix the issue. We have 8,000 tokens. That's a lot. Let's clear our chat and check the tokens again. Now to 3.9. That's more manageable. Let's tell it to not use today's date, but to use the news article's actual date. Okay, there's still a failed test. Let's tell it to raise an exception if no published date was set, so it doesn't fall back to today's date. We told it to find alternative ways to find the published date, and it actually used regular expressions and it was able to make it work. Let's clean up the login now. Oh no, we've exhausted our credit. Okay, this is actually a good opportunity for me to show you reloading of credits. Go to console.anthropic.com, then just add funds. Then let's just add $6 here. Okay, so let's let it continue. Perfect. Seamlessly just continues. While it's continuing, let's go to the ADA site and copy a sample configuration file. Let's create a .ada.conf.yaml file and paste the template. As I mentioned before, you can automatically run tests after every change, and you can have your coding standards that the LLM always adheres to. We also always want to use the architect mode, and we want to cache prompts. Cool. So when we start it now, it'll automatically be using the architect mode and cache prompts. It'll automatically use the repo map to know which files do what, and then add our coding standards. Let's do phase 2 now, which is our front end. Let's copy the prompt, give it to Ada. Let's allow it to create all the files. Let's ask it how to actually run the front end. Okay, it creates another PowerShell script for us. Okay, when you try to run it, we run into an error. Let's just give it the error. Let's try running it again. Oh, there's a different error now. Looks like in the package.json file. Let's just give it the error again. Okay, let's just add the package.json into the chat so it can work with it. Now we have a different error. Let's give it the error as well. Oh my goodness. Now, I'm glad this happened as well, because this shows that we have a daily rate limit that we've hit with our tokens using the Anthropic API key that we're using. To resolve this, you can create another API key under a different project in Anthropic, and that should work. But for this one, we're going to switch to a different model, OpenAI's GPT-4o. If we say Ada -40, it'll actually just start GPT-4o. Cool. Let's just test. It works. Cool. Let's continue the same prompt. Perfect. It just continues with the new model. So it even feels faster, to be honest. Oh, it was able to resolve it immediately. Cool. So our front end now shows our news from our first news source. Looks good. There's some animations. It actually shows the source as well. So what we want now is to retrieve AI news from TechCrunch, and just the AI news, not everything. Okay, here's how TechCrunch looks. Let's run the integration test to make sure that it was able to integrate TechCrunch into our API. It seems like it got some error messages after running the integration tests. Try to fix them. Let's refresh. Awesome. Now we get TechCrunch news as well. Let's ask it to clean up and polish the solution, because there were many logging commands. Great. Another way to add only a certain portion of files, for example, in a folder, you can just clear everything with /reset and then add the folder itself only. Let's just add the front end only here. Check the tokens. As you can see, they're decreased now. Let's add the package.json file into the Ada ignore file, so it's not considered by Ada. Good. Now let's tell it to restore the other news source as well, so they can both be visible. Let's refresh our page. There's TechCrunch, page 2, 3, 4. We should start seeing the other news sources. There we go. So we're getting news from different sources. Let's add a loading spinner when it's actually loading news. There it is. Looks good. Now it looks harsh on the eyes. Let's make the theme dark. That was quick. Let's refresh. Nice. Now it works. Remember to subscribe to the channel, guys, for more updates and longer videos. For some very strange reason, it's using ASP.NET 7 instead of our requested ASP.NET 8. Let's ask it to fix that. Okay, looks good.